Every superhero has a special weapon to take down their enemy, but sometimes the weapon can be a bit unconventional. Well, there's a new movie featuring a Filipino food staple set to make its worldwide premiere. This one is all about lumpia, and filmmaker and director Patricio Janelsa is here to talk about his labor of love and what audiences can expect. Oh, I see you've got the lumpia symbol up there, Pat. How's it going today?
Good morning, Aubrey. I'm doing really amazing.
Well, amazing is wonderful. So you have a new film. It's based on a comic book involving lumpia. Tell our viewers how this idea for the comic book came about.
You know, in the comic book world, you know, we accept that a hero can dress up like a bat and a spider, and so I felt like a Filipino superhero who wears a barong Tagalog and uses lumpia, Filipino spring roll, as a weapon. That seemed like the most fun comic book way to do, and so we shot that. It was like shot that in Daly City, my neighborhood, with my with the neighbors I grew up. That was the first part, and this new movie is like something that got crowdfunded 7 years ago, and so now we have this huge movie now with Mark Munoz and Danny Trejo.
It's awesome. It's awesome. So I've seen some of the illustrations from the comic book. They're pretty amazing. Talk about who wrote and drew the comic book.
So I was able to, it was always a nerd dream for me to make my own comic book, and so I wrote that, and then I actually collaborated with a lot of comic book artists. A lot of them were very well known in the comic book industry, like Will Spertasio, X-Men, Bobby Rubio from Pixar, but also upcoming rising comic book artists, and a lot of them were like our own producer from the movie, and even our assistant stunt coordinator, who I didn't even know could draw, and so he actually drew one of the stories in the comic book here. And yeah, it's I think the comic book itself, it's not just only a prelude to the movie, but it's also a great combination of just the many talents in our movie, and also, you know, just in our community.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I love the way that you incorporate the comic book imagery into the movie. Now, why was it important for you to do this with Filipino-American characters? I love that the movie, we saw a premiere last night, a screening, I should say. It's very diverse, and I love that.
You know, it's very true. Representation matters, right? And I think the draw of Lumpia is that you rarely see Filipino-Americans really playing themselves on screen, or much less. I think there's a sense of pride when you see, you know, our community being represented, just normal folks, you know, villains and heroes, and actually superheroes. So I think, you know, it's very important. I think that's the reason why they crowdfunded our movie, and even the comic book. You know, there's definitely an appetite for a film and a comic book.
So what's been the response from the comic book specifically after people get their hands on a copy?
Yeah, you know, we just came out last week, and the response has been amazing. I think, again, the comic book has it's I guess the world of the Lumpia, I guess we're calling it the Lumpia cinematic universe now. I guess the world has gotten bigger, and I think they're just, again, drawn to the fact that there's heroes that are Filipino American, and not just Filipino, and it has that comic book flavor. I think if you're a big fan of Frank Miller, comic books in general, and just you know, good comic book stories and art, I think you don't have to be Filipino to enjoy this comic book. And I think that's what draws people a lot of it. It's a very universal comic book that just happens to have Filipino-American characters.
Yeah, I think it's a great way for you to reach some of those different audiences, as you mentioned. Now, when we talk about the premise of the film, of the story, I know you don't want to give too much away, but what can you share with the audience?
Well, it definitely talks about the Lumpia Avenger, the silent Avenger, who returns back to his fog town and has to reunite with a high school student to take down a crime syndicate who's selling drugs masked as food, aka Lumpia. So it is again, you know, it is a very wacky concept, but I think the theme, I think that's the entrance to this thing, this comic book story. But I hope people will get from it and stick to the story. The story is very family. It's very family oriented, because, as you know, Aubrey, Lumpia brings everyone together.
It sure does. And, you know, so this movie is going to be having a worldwide premiere at the Hawaii International Film Festival. I am really proud that I have a small cameo as a reporter in it, and we screened it last night for the first time with cast and crew. Congratulations. It is a masterpiece. How are you feeling in this moment?
I'm glowing from last night. Last night was the first time we screened it to an audience, and the world premiere virtually, which this Saturday is the only way that people nationwide in the United States can watch the movie and join the world premiere. That's this Saturday. It hasn't hit me yet that it's completed. It took us 7 years to make, and it's actually premiered this Saturday. I hope you can join us.
Yeah, no, that is so awesome. And I know you're very thankful to the community for helping to support it with all the crowdfunding. So Lumpia with a vengeance. It's about to, take the world by storm. Pat, I want to congratulate you again. Great work. And if you want to hear more about the movie and the comic book, you can go to lumpiamovie.com.